Hello and welcome to the FITT Show, which stands for Financial Information for Today and Tomorrow. Hello, I'm Bobby Kinson. My partner, Thomas Doty, and I got together and we were thinking about ways that we can help people get their finances in shape. And even before the COVID, we realized that people were having problems or issues trying to make good financial decisions. So we decided to start this show and provide tips and tools and just some kinds of strategies so that people can get better control of their money. And one of our corner statements is, don't work for your money, let your money work for you. So we're going to be talking about all kinds of topics: taxes, home ownership, entrepreneurship, credit, investing. Matter of fact, our last two shows was on investing, and we had some wonderful response from that. And this week's show, we're going to talk about the truth about credit cards, credit itself, and credit scores. Now, we know a lot of people know a lot about credit, but there's a lot of things that people don't know about credit, and we're going to go over some of those things today. So, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my partner, Thomas Doty, who's going to give you a little bit background about his financial background so you can understand our experience.
Hello there. Thanks for joining us tonight. As you said, my name is Thomas Doty. I have an undergraduate degree in accounting and an MBA. I spent 41 years working in various financial functions for PPG Industries. I did pretty much everything there. And in my later years, I finished up as a controller for several different businesses, and I also ran their credit function. I spent some time teaching. I taught at Marquette University and Lakeland College. And as Bobby said, we are interested in looking for ways to provide people with some information about finances. I am married and have 4 wonderful kids and 2 fantastic grandkids.
Wow, great, dope. Wonderful background. Just want to give you a little bit of background about myself, because we just want to let you all know that the experience that we have, that to let people know that we know a little bit about what we're talking about. I actually played basketball with Dote at Penn State University. We both played Alpha Phi fraternity. I went to Texas A&I University, but I graduated from the University of UDC. What happened was at Texas A&I University, I was offered a contract to play professional basketball in England and Scotland. I went there and played 1 year right outside of London. But the greatest thing I ever did, I came back and I finished my degree at the University of District of Columbia, and I went back for 4 years. After that, my body clock expired, and I got a real job. Not a real job. I just got a job in what we used to call the world as a registered stockbroker and investment advisor. I did that for 2 years, and then I went into the regulatory side of banking, which I was handling the orderly liquidation of savings and loans. I was a part of the savings and loan crisis in the 80s, and which was so ironic, I was part of the bank economic downturn in 2008. I then retired in 2017, and I became a certified financial education instructor. I'm the president of Life, the Literacy Institute of Financial Enrichment. Is a nonprofit organization that actually deals with promoting and teaching financial literacy. I'm on the board of Indian Creek School. I'm also on the advisory board for the National Financial Educators Council, and I am a senior fellow at the Partnership for Public Service. Just want to give you a little background so that you can feel comfortable with the news that we use. So, Dope, let's get this started, man. Tell me something. Do people really understand credit?
Yeah, I think a lot of people do, but I also think a lot of people don't. And it's key because it's really the first step in building wealth. I mean, it's the first thing you have to have solid in order to build wealth. And if you're paying 18% interest, there's no way you can get ahead of the game and build wealth. So that's why it's important to understand everything about credit and try to use it to your advantage. And the other thing is it's a big budget buster, because if you have a credit card, you have an opportunity to spend money, it's very easy to exceed your budget and not pay attention to what you're trying to do financially if you splurge or go out and spend, buy this or that on a credit card, and then you're stuck paying those high interest rates. So that's what we're going to try to do tonight, is explain some of the nuances of credit and help you understand how to use it to your advantage.
What's ironic, a lot of people ask me, is there such thing as good credit and bad credit? And sometimes people correlate that with money. See, money is amoral. Money is not good or bad, right? It's what you do with it. But credit, there is a such thing as good credit and bad credit. And we're going to go through some of those things and talk about what are some of the things that are good credit. Like, good credit is those things that give you access to more credit and be able to purchase items that you would not have the funds to be able to do it. And bad credit is just that. It can prevent you from getting a job, or even it could prevent you from getting low interest rates. But we're going to get into that, though. And it's so robust when you talk about credit, because there's so many secrets about credit that they keep from us. And I like to start from the beginning of what is credit. And that's a very interesting question, because it's plain and simple. Credit is, bear with me for a minute, I get these slides up. Credit is just the ability for you to use somebody else's money, right? That's plain and simple what credit is. The ability to use somebody else's money. It's a privilege. It's not your money. And the next thing that you need to know is about the 3 C's. And the 3 C's are very important, because whatever lender there is, whatever retailer there is, this is the 3 main things they look at to determine if you're credit worthy or not. 1, capacity. Do you have the ability to pay them back? Like, do you have an income? Do you have a job? 2nd is character. Do you pay your bills on time? And 3rd is collateral. Do you have something of value that you can pledge, just in case you lose your job, don't have income, or you're not paying your bills on time? Do you have something else, like a car, a home, or something of asset value? The 3 C's are very, very important, because every lender, this is what they look at. So this is what you must protect, people, when you're out there. The next thing I want to talk about is the 3 major credit reporting agencies, which is Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Now, a lot of people have heard these and they think that these are the only. There are many credit reporting agencies. This just happened to be the 3 major ones that retailers actually go to see about your credit score, to see if you're credit worthy. And it's important to understand these credit bureaus, because a lot of people think, though, that credit bureaus are the ones who actually calculate your score, but it's not. It's actually FICO. And I'm sure some people have heard of it. It stands for Fair Isaac. These 2 men, Isaac and Bruce Fair, they came up with a way to determine your default risk to help banks determine whether you were creditworthy or not. So what they basically do, they look at about 3 million people, and they come up with a default risk rate that they apply to you to see what they think they may calculate how much of risk you are and being able to give you credit. This is so important to understand, because a lot of people sometimes, though, they see 3 different credit scores from each one of these credit bureaus, and they're different. And the reason why those scores are different, they're normally close, but the reason why they're different is because these credit bureaus are calculating it geographically. Like, one of these credit bureaus in Chicago, another one's in Atlanta. So they're looking at a swath of people in about 3 million in the geographic area that they come up with the default rate. Like, in this group of people, there could be 30%, 30 days delinquent, 60 days delinquent, 90 days, and they come up with a default rate. So next thing I just want to talk about right quick is you get a free credit report from each one of these credit bureaus. And it's called annualcreditreport.com. You go out there on their website and you get one free credit report a year from each one of these credit bureaus. And you can get one report from each of these. So it means you get 3 free credit reports a year. And the interesting thing about this is a way that you can actually look and make sure there's no errors on your credit report. Make sure there's no things that should come off, because after 7 years, any delinquencies that you have, technically the requirement is they have to stay on your report for 7 years. So if you have something past 7 years out there, you can get it off, and that can affect your credit score. So just wanted to make that main point, and want you to see this is, and now there's one called free annualcreditreport.com. Don't fall for that, because it's not free. This is the legitimate one, and you should pull them every 4 months. Use one. Don't do them all at once, because this way you could do one every 4 months, and you can actually identify if there's any identity theft on your account. So with that, Dope, tell me a little bit about what is good credit and bad credit. Tell us about the good side of credit.
Well, the good side of credit is things like convenience, and a lot of credit cards and credit situations offer extended protection. I mean, you can use it to build your credit report. Okay, a lot of insurance companies now use your good credit to lower your insurance rate. A lot of companies look at your credit report before they'll hire you. Utility services may look at your credit report. Also, things like special offers. You may get special deals if you're a credit customer that ordinary customers don't get. And in a lot of cases, actually in most cases, you can get some type of bonuses. And the one advantage that you should kind of keep on the down low is the instant gratification. You can buy something when you don't have the cash, but obviously we don't recommend that you do that. Now, the opposite of that are some of the negatives, and the biggest is the interest rate you pay. And it's kind of like a slippery slope. Once you have bad credit, the interest rates you get become higher and higher. So it puts you in a hole that's almost impossible to get out of when you start paying those high interest rates. It can lead you to overspending because you have access to a lot more money, or let's say a lot more money than you actually have. So you're basically spending money that you don't have, which increases your debt. And the more credit you have, the more different lines of credit you have, you obviously open yourself for more identity theft. And if your credit is bad, you may have an issue getting a job or paying more for a lot of things that you could pay less for if you had good credit. So those are the good and bad. So if you're using it to your advantage, it's going to help you build wealth because you're going to have lower interest rates and you're going to be able to use it wisely and take care of things you need to take care of and have it there when you need it. If you do have an emergency situation, it's always good to have that credit available.
So Dope, let's talk about then the potential risks of credit. In other words, the downside of credit.
Well, look, it's kind of the opposite of what we just talked about. It's the debt, the higher interest rates, and some of the issues that you have when you don't pay your bills on time or when you have a bad credit score. It's very, very hard to get out of it when you get caught with a lot of debt because of the interest rates you're charging. And we talked about the rule of 72s when we talked about earning money. Well, the same thing happens with debt. And once you start paying at 18, 24, 23%, it's almost impossible to catch up. So those are the things that can really keep you from building wealth is when you have more debt than you could handle.
So I'm sure there's a lot of interesting and horror stories about credit and debt. As a matter of fact, we're going to even talk more about credit cards and debt reduction the next show. But won't you share us a story about that your reward using reward points though? Because a lot of people are now getting into these credit cards and they spending to get these reward points. And I think sometimes they might be overspending just to get the points. But explain that a little bit about the rewards points.
Yeah, and the first thing you got to realize, whenever you're paying interest, you're hurting yourself because you cannot invest and make better than 18%. There's people who do it for a living who don't make that much money. So if you're using credit to your advantage, for example, everything I buy it on with a credit card, and somebody gives me something for having bought whatever it is. If I buy groceries at Whole Foods, I get 5% back from Chase. If I buy anything from Amazon, I get 5%. When I buy gas with my Costco card, I get 4% back. And I have one all-purpose card that I get 2% back on. When I travel, I typically try to stick to American Airlines, and I get 8 times my dollars spent back in points. Hilton, I get something like 12 times back in points for every night I stay in a Hilton, plus a lot of other perks from those credit cards. And I don't pay a cent of interest, but I use those credit cards to my advantage to make sure when I spend money, somebody's helping me pay for whatever it is I'm buying.
That's good to know, because I know a lot of people are getting into the using reward points. And if you use them and manage them correctly, it can be a major benefit and save you a lot of money if you use it and manage it properly. Dote, I want to transition in to talking about what people should know about credit scores, because credit scores could be the life and death of you. I mean, for your job, for insurance. I mean, in the state of Maryland, if you have a low credit score of 600, you could be paying 40% more higher in your car insurance premium just because you have lower debt. Just because you have a low credit score. So I want to talk a little bit, and you know, we've seen these credit scores. We know about the credit bureaus, but let me share something with you, Dope. Now, a lot of people know this chart, but the 3 major credit bureaus used to have different levels. One used to went up to 900, another one went to 800. So now all 3 of them use the same scale, with bad credit being below 500. And what I find interesting, though, that good credit is at 661 score. And I guess since the pandemic, they've lowered that a little bit because it didn't used to be that low. But good credit, you could be in there with a score of 661 to 780. It's important to know this because your credit score follows you wherever you go. And like I said before, people don't even know it's Fair Isaac that actually calculates the credit score. The credit bureau just collects the data, but it's FICO that does the score, and they normally score it when you make an inquiry. A lot of people think that score is just sitting out there. No, it actually is calculated once you make an inquiry, whatever it is at that time. That's why you get sometimes different scores, because the time that you actually apply for it. So let's get into it a little bit, Dope. One of the big things about FICO, they have this black box, they call it. And in the black box is the secret calculator which calculates the score. But no one knows what the actual numbers were associated with any transaction you make. But one thing we do know, if you look at this chart, there are factors that influence your score, or what they call risk factors. And one of the biggest ones that affect your score, we may not know the exact number, but we know that it's 35% is based on your payment history. Remember I was talking about your capacity to pay income? this is 35% of your score is based on debt. Look what the second one is. 30% is based on outstanding debt. That's your credit card debt that you have on your credit card. So 65% of your score is based on your payment history and how much debt did you have out there. Now look at credit history. That's important because a lot of people wonder, oh, should I cancel out my credit card once I get it to zero balance? But you got to be careful because your credit history is 15% of your score. And if you get rid of a card that you've had for 20 years, you get rid of a lot of your credit history. So sometimes it's better to keep it at zero, but don't cut them up. Just put them in your sock drawer so you don't touch them. But another one is a new pursuit of new credit. A lot of people don't know that if you're searching for a mortgage or auto loan, they know that you're just searching for a rate. So if you're searching for a mortgage or auto loan, within 30 days or 45 days, they know that you're just searching for and shopping for a better rate. Those inquiries count as only one. So that's the great thing about that. But not with credit cards, because if you're searching for many credit cards, they know that you're probably in debt and you're looking for another credit card that you can build up another balance on. So this is important to understand this chart, what makes up those risk factors on your score. So Doe, talk a little bit about the utilization rate.
And that's the rate that the credit, that the three credit firms look at. That's the rate that that's the rate that the credit firms look at in order to determine what your credit utilization is. And if typically they want to see you under 30%. But if you're really trying to control your number, you should try to keep that number around 20%. Okay. And the bottom line is an example, and it shows you that 45% is going to kick your credit score down.
Right. And it's called the debt to limit ratio, meaning your credit limit is and how much you have on it. And it's very important because that's what drives your score. And you must be very conscious of that. And so that's another good one, Doe. Let's move on, Doe. Why don't you talk about this chart?
This is really key because a lot of people don't truly understand what they're paying for something when they use a credit card. And I want you to look at this chart, and what it shows, you have an original balance of $2,500. You make the minimum payment, okay, and it's an 18% interest rate. You have a minimum payment. If you just make that minimum payment and continue to make that minimum payment, it will take you 23 years to pay that balance off. That's crazy. I mean, look at the amount of interest you're paying, and you started off with something that was worth $2,500. So the way to do that in a perfect world is to not carry a balance. But if you have to, if you can make some additional payments in addition to the minimum payment, you can pay it off a lot faster. In the second line, if you add $24 to that minimum payment, you'd pay it off in 4 years. If you add another $41, you could pay it off in 3 years. Again, you want to have as little credit as possible. You don't want to buy something for $2,500 that ends up costing you $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. It just doesn't make sense. You'll never build wealth that way. So always try, if you're able, to pay more than the minimum payment and get those balances that are carrying interest rates, high interest rates, off as soon as possible. Pay them off as soon as possible.
You know, another one, though, because I was a stockbroker and investment advisor, people always come to me asking, oh, man, Bob, what can I invest in? What do you know about cryptocurrency? You got a stock? And I go, you know the best investment you can make? I said, do you have any credit card balances? Yeah. How much your credit card balance? Oh, about $5,000. What's the interest rate? 24%. So right there, the best investment you can make is pay off that credit card debt, because if you pay off that $5,000, guess what you just did? You just earned yourself 24% interest. And some people say, well, how does that work? Because that's now 24% that you didn't have to pay. So you basically paid yourself 24%. So that's how managing your credit card debt can really, really help you on an investment side to free up money, other money, so that you can invest. But until you get that debt down, especially that credit card balances and debt, until you get that down, that's like an albatross around your neck. Like that chart we just showed you, you end up paying a minimum payment. Yes, you keep your credit good, but they're killing you on interest. And that's the thing about interest. Interest compounds and make interest. Dope, I want to talk a little bit right quick before we wrap up. I want to talk about some tips from all of this that I want to share with people that may improve your credit score. We can't tell you it is exactly going to improve your credit score. That may improve your credit score, because no one knows what Fair Isaac really do, how they score, the actual score. But these are tips that may improve your credit score. Pay your bills on time. And the best way to do it is using automatic payments. You know, that way you know they're going to be paid on time. But be careful, because sometimes if your payment schedule changes or the amount changes and you still using automatic payments, you might come up as short. So you must monitor the automatic payments too. You know, have credit cards, but manage them responsibly. Then don't talk about the utilization rate, the debt to limit ratio, meaning that 30% of you should not go over 30% of your credit limit. Maintain low credit balances. And like Doe said, if FICO is saying 30%, you should take it down to 20%. The young man would say to me, Mr. Bob, if I got $1,000 credit limit and I shouldn't go over 20%, that's only $200. What can I do with $200? Well, that's the point, sir. It's not your money anyway. So you shouldn't be using it if you can't pay it back. Don't, like I told you before, don't close unused credit cards that have as a short-term strategy, because it could lower your utilization. Your credit limit balance, your utilization rate could go down if you get rid of some of those credit cards, and that now you might hit that 30% way sooner than you normally expected. And pay off debt rather than moving it around. And some people try to switch to these credit cards, switch them over, and say if you in 12 months, you get a zero balance. And a lot of people forget. And once you don't pay that on time, once that clock goes off after a year, they hit you with all those back interest on your debt. Don't use multiple credit cards. And work with your creditors, especially since this pandemic, a lot of credit bureaus are giving people forbearances and giving people breaks with being able to change their credit limits or being able to change their interest rates. Call them and ask them. All they can do is say no. And check out this last one, Dope. Check out this last one. Don't co-sign for nobody. At least I don't. And I know you love your son to death. I know you love your daughter to death. But I tell you what, this alone, Dope, has taken out a many of people co-signing for people. Have you ever co-signed for anybody, Dope?
Never.
I know that's right. So, Dope, I know we went through a lot. We come up to our time. But listen, and look, you all, please click on as many times as you can that button, that blue button, to let us know that you're out there, and it helps us get traction to expand our audience. Click on the like button, which is the thumbs up button. Click on the heart button, the happy face, and give us some comments. Oh man, no, I'm sorry, we got some comments here, but okay, we're gonna get to the questions in a minute, but right now, and my man Clutch Chicago got a great question. But, Dope, what are some of the takeaways? Let's rehash some of the pearls of wisdom that we talked about today.
Well,
You can start.
the first one is a quote by our great Albert Einstein, and it's compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. The eighth wonder of the world. We talked about the rule of 72s and how fast your money grows. But people who understand interest earn it, and those who don't pay it. And so what that says is make sure you understand everything that's involved in your credit situation, your agreement, your terms, you pay your bills on time, you do everything you're supposed to do so you can minimize your debt, minimize your credit, and use that money to invest and build wealth. But the best thing you can do is minimize the amount of interest you pay. In a perfect world, you should pay no interest. And that's the most important thing you can do is not pay any interest. Control your budget, like we talked about. That fact will come through in everything we talk about when it comes to building wealth. It's having a budget, sticking to it, and not splurging, controlling what you spend your money on, knowing you're building to generate more money. And once you get a lot of money, the interest you get on the money you have, it's just amazing. It truly is.
It builds up. But and the other thing though, remember the positive and negatives about credit. You know, it can affect your employment. It can affect your premiums on insurance. It can affect so many things, man. It can affect your credit score. So please be more conscious of it. Another thing, remember this note. It's not your money. Remember, it's not your money. And remember the three major credit bureaus, right? I want y'all to make sure you go out there and get your credit reports, right? Go out there and get your credit reports because they're free. But remember, they don't give you credit scores, right? And some people say, we're good at looking at my credit report if there's no credit scores. Remember what I told you about risk factors? And those risk factors you can see without your credit scores. It's not as important. Your credit score is not important when you see the risk factors. The risk factors are like 30, 60-day, 90-day delinquents. You know, if you see those on your credit report, that's going to pull down your credit score. If you see your utilization rate is over 30%, you know that's going to pull down your score. So those are factors that you can see, that you can look at, and you don't have to have the actual scores. We come to the end of this, but next week we're going to be talking about debt reduction, but we're also going to be talking about credit cards. We specifically didn't talk all about credit cards because there's a whole nother story and understanding you got to have about credit cards, and it goes well about talking about reducing debt. So next week we're going to be talking about credit cards and debt reduction, and we just wanted to make sure you remember one of the first steps in managing your wealth is being able to manage credit. So look, we open it up for questions. Anybody have any questions? And I want to start with my first man's question is from Charles McCargo. He says, how does getting a 7-year debt off your credit work? Is there a process, and does it appear on your credit report? You want to answer or you want me to answer?
You can have it.
Okay, so this if you have a 7-year debt, it technically, if you're being hit with 30, 60, 90-day debt, now it depends on the debt. Now, if it's bankruptcy and if it's Chapter 11, it's 7 years and it could come off your report. But if it's Chapter 13, it takes 10 years. So it depends on the debt. But like, let's say that it was credit card debt that you were delinquent. It's supposed to only stay on there for 7 years, and that's 7 years from the date that you incurred that delinquency. So if you ended up doing another one 2 months later, it doesn't start the same time, but that one starts when you incurred that debt. And you can call the credit bureaus, each one of them. If it's on there and it's been over 7 years, you can call them and request that it be removed because it's 7 years, and they will remove it. and that will affect your credit score. Your credit score will go up if it's been on there, and it shouldn't be on there after 7 years. So that's how, the process that you get it. You call the credit bureau, and then you make an inquiry, and they have 30 days. They have 30 days to get back to you with a response of should it be removed or not. And that's how it works. Though I just want to make another disclaimer out here, so people understand that all this information we give you is just for information purposes. We're not qualified or certified financial advisors. So you need to take this information because everybody's situation is unique to themselves, and you should get the advice of a qualified financial advisor going forward. We just provide you with information that you can use so that when you sit down with a financial advisor, hopefully this will help you be able to understand what he's saying, and then it also will help you be able to articulate what your goals are. So we just want to thank everybody for being out here tonight. We're here every Thursday from 8 o'clock. We usually try to go anywhere between 30 and 40 minutes, and we're right there on that mark. Please, 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 you all, click the like button and hit it as many times as you can, because that helps us be able to reach people, because that's what the algorithms read. And put comments in there, ask us questions, click on the heart button, click on the happy face. All of those things help us out in getting traction with our show. No, you have any closing remarks you'd like to give the people out there in the wonderful land of financial management?
Yes, it takes work. It takes time. And you cannot become rich, or you cannot build wealth without being attentive to your whole financial situation. That's from credit to financial planning to budgeting. It takes time and effort and discipline. That's the only way you can become rich and build wealth. And that's what we're hoping that you guys do.
Just want to remind you all that all our previous shows on personal management and investing, those are the ones we've done lately, and this show on credit will be out there on Facebook under the FITT Show, and it will be out there on past shows that we've done out on YouTube. So please stay tuned, and please, after we get off, you can still put comments in there if you have some topics that you want us to talk about. Please feel free to put some comments in there. Ask us. We'll cover them. And one thing for sure, if we don't know, we know somebody that does. So we will get back to you. And we'd like to thank all the people who's been tuning in. This has been a great show, Dope. Thanks again, my good brother, my partner, my Alpha Phi Alpha brother. Thank you. Y'all have a great night, and check us out next week. Stay tuned for more.